Florida and Cuba, so close yet so far, just 90 miles apart, a stone's throw in engineering terms. And if we were to put it into context, shorter than a trip from Miami to Orlando on a good day with no traffic. I mean, we've already built some absolutely ridiculous bridges before. Number 1, Danyang Kunshan Grand Bridge, China, 102 miles. The longest bridge in the world, so definitely longer than the entire distance from Florida to Cuba. It stretches over land and water, connecting major Chinese cities. Number 2, the overseas highway in Florida is 113 miles long, stretching from Miami to Key West across a series of islands and bridges, proving that, indeed, Florida can build over water as long as there are islands for support. Spoiler, there are no islands between Florida and Cuba. Last but not least, the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, USA, 24 miles, the longest bridge over water in the Western Hemisphere. So if we can build massive bridges like the overseas highway, why not just slap one connecting Florida to Cuba across the Florida Straits and call it a day? Imagine it. A scenic, palm tree-lined highway stretching across connecting Miami to Havana, making weekend getaways as easy as a drive down the 95. Sounds amazing, right? And yet, there's no bridge, never has been, probably never will be. Why? Well, it turns out Mother Nature, engineering, and politics all got together and said, absolutely not. For starters, most bridges, like the ones in China, Louisiana, or even Florida's overseas highway, are built over shallow waters with solid foundations. The Florida Strait, which is the body of water between these two regions, is not some peaceful little pond. I mean, sure, they're both wet, but one you can step in, and the other will swallow you whole and never give you back. The ocean here plunges to depths of 5,000 feet in some areas. That's deeper than Kalan. The Empire State Building, stacked on top of itself 4 times. The Grand Canyon at its deepest point. The Titanic's wreck site, which by the way isn't known for its intact structure. So are you building support pillars for a bridge at those depths? Yeah, that's a hard pass. As long as we haven't invented bridges that can float mid-air, we have another problem. Most bridges need a solid foundation, like sturdy bedrock or compacted earth. The seabed in the Florida Straits, it's a Jenga tower made of wet spaghetti. We are talking soft limestone, shifting sandbanks, and fragile coral formations, not exactly the best building material. Imagine trying to build a house on mashed potatoes, or on the wet spaghetti we talked about earlier. Well, that's what we're dealing with here. Anything we build would be constantly at the risk of sinking or collapsing. Even if we somehow MacGyver our way around the deep sea problem, we're still not safe. Mother Nature is still undefeated. I mean, she took out dinosaurs, flipped continents, and still found time to ruin my picnic last weekend with a surprise rainstorm. Because this region isn't just a nice tropical paradise. It's also the home turf for some of the most violent hurricanes on Earth. Florida and Cuba are like two houses right next to Tornado Alley, except instead of tornadoes, it's massive 150 plus miles per hour swirling hurricanes the size of small apartment buildings. These are Category 5 storms, some of the most violent in the world. For comparison, let's have a look at some examples. Hurricane Katrina, a Category 5 hurricane that weakened to Category 3 at landfall, struck in 2005, causing $125 billion in damage. 80% of New Orleans was underwater, with over 850,000 homes and businesses destroyed, causing one of the worst humanitarian disasters in U.S. history. Hurricane Sandy, a Category 3 storm, struck in 2012, extending over 1,000 miles wide, causing $68.7 billion in damage. Flooded New York City's subways and tunnels and destroyed 650,000 homes. If Sandy could flood an entire subway system, a bridge over the ocean would have been shattered like a toy in a tsunami. Hurricane Maria, a Category 5 storm that devastated Puerto Rico, Dominica, and the U.S. Virgin Islands in 2017, caused $91.6 billion in damage. 100% of Puerto Rico lost power. Some areas were without electricity for nearly a year. Since we are looking at nearly the same magnitudes, if Maria had hit a Florida-Cuba bridge, Even the support pillars would have been swept away, leaving nothing but open water. Currently, the 7-mile bridge in Florida gets battered by hurricanes every single year. And that's just 7 miles. Imagine 90 miles of bridge getting body slammed by this kind of storm. Year after year, decade after decade. It would be less of a bridge and more of a recurring insurance claim. Still think this bridge is possible? I hate to break it to you, but it gets worse. Let's talk about the Gulf Stream. This is not your lazy river at a water park. The Gulf Stream is one of the strongest ocean currents in the world, moving up to 5.6 miles per hour. That's faster than some people jog, and while that doesn't sound fast, if you've ever tried to walk against a strong wind, imagine that, but in water and forever. This current would constantly erode bridge supports and make construction a logistical nightmare. Plus, imagine trying to fix a broken bridge column while the ocean is actively trying to throw you into the Bermuda Triangle. Not ideal. Alright, so let's say we somehow pull off the impossible. We outsmart the ocean, hurricane-proof the bridge, and convince the Gulf Stream to chill. Great. Now, all we have to do is get two governments who haven't exactly been best friends to shake hands and split the bill. And that, my friends, might be harder than building the bridge itself. For decades, the relationship between the US and Cuba has been, let's just say, complicated. For over 60 years, the US had an embargo against Cuba, restricting trade, travel, and financial transactions. While relations have warmed up a bit in recent years, they're still far from perfect. Even if a bridge was technically possible, both countries would have to agree to fund, build, and maintain it. That means the US and Cuba would have to shake hands, sign contracts, and work together. And let's be honest, that's about as likely as Florida getting snow in July. Speaking of money, who exactly is footing the bill for this mega project? Let's have a look at some numbers, shall we? The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge cost a staggering $20 billion, and that was only 34 miles long. A bridge to Cuba? Nearly 3 times that distance. The Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, 23 miles long, 4 times shorter than a bridge to Cuba, cost $756 million. Estimates suggest it would cost at least $100 billion, probably more, once we factor in repairs from the yearly hurricane beatdowns. Cuba's economy, not built for massive infrastructure projects. The US struggling to keep its roads from collapsing. Private investors? Yeah, convincing billionaires to invest in a hurricane-prone, politically sensitive bridge. Good luck. And even if they somehow did build it, tolls would be insane. Imagine paying hundreds of dollars just to drive across when you could take a cheap 45-minute flight instead. I don't know about you, but I'm not doing that. Okay, so we've completely roasted this idea. But in some wild alternate reality, could it? If politics changed, if engineers figured out some insane deep-sea building techniques, and if some trillionaire decided they were really passionate about direct road trips to Cuba, maybe. Would it be useful? Absolutely. Trade would explode, tourism would skyrocket, and before you know it, half of Miami would be treating Cuba like their personal backyard. Honey, I'm just popping over to Havana for some cigars and a cafecito. Be back before dinner. But in reality, the ocean hates it, the weather hates it, the currents hate it, the politicians hate it, and then your wallet would definitely hate it. So while it's fun to dream about a future where you can road trip from Miami to Havana, the truth is, this bridge, not happening. Not today, not tomorrow, probably not ever.